When I went and saw Mad Max Fury Road, I saw it with a few people I had just met during a game jam that same weekend. Seeing trailers in the months leading up to the release, I thought, looks like another cash-in, boring, whatever. And I was only really interested in the film when I started hearing good buzz, along with learning that people were mad on the internet about women in a movie in regards to it. So we took a break and went and saw it, and we were all absolutely blown away and so hyped up and in love with it, and it was a fun sort of surprise and bonding moment with new friends. In retrospect, the talk of Fury Road and raging MRA types seems to have been exaggerated, especially by progressives wanting to feel good for liking a movie. The film was a critical and commercial success, and the vast majority of people I saw discussing it were either talking about how rad it is, or had normal, legitimate criticisms that come with any film or with any other piece of media. The hatred for Lady Ghostbusters, though, was at no point exaggerated. Any discussion of it anywhere was more overtly politicized than talk of Fury Road, and either way more negative or way more stiltedly positive. I love film and media. I got a degree in them, and I work in video production as a career. The thing I'm best known for has film nerd in the title. Film is important to me personally, and I also feel that it's important in a wider cultural context. Representation of certain groups within film, both in front of and behind the camera, is also important. So, in saying stiltedly positive, I am not at all saying female characters on screen don't matter. They do matter. On top of being a woman, I have short hair and don't really feel comfortable in makeup or dresses. I am neurotic, and I am not a very emotional person, and I have a really weird, morbid sense of humor. The amount of overlap between my life experiences and the life experiences of the women I see in media is close to zero. It's so alienating and frustrating to look at my favorite medium and many of my favorite films specifically and have to really search to see anything like myself. And it's a special joy and a genuine moment of human connection when I find that. I almost always find it through characters who are dudes in films made by dudes because most films are made by dudes starring dudes, but I'll take it where I can get it. Back when most of my wardrobe was graphic tees and blue jeans, I had 2 Ghostbusters shirts that I wore so often that at least one of them had holes in it. My love for Ghostbusters kind of emerged when I was a teenager from my obsessive love for the Blues Brothers and the crush I had on Dan Aykroyd. Aykroyd came up with huge, dense tomes for these characters and these stories. Like, he wrote up pages and pages of backstory and mythos for both movies, which is so weird and so fascinating considering that by wider cultural perception, he was just a Saturday Night Live guy making 80s comedies. The Blues Brothers is a profoundly strange movie,
Tell me your children.
both in structure and in content, and it's worthwhile if only on that level. And Ghostbusters is a fun, solid, lightning-in-a-bottle comedy. Elements of it are clunky or problematic, and if I rewatched it right now, I might feel a little differently about it, but it was definitely important in my film nerd genesis. But you know, the new one came out, and suddenly Man Ghostbusters is, and always was, bad. Anyone who likes it or has any kind of emotional attachment to it is a man-child. The new one is good because it has women in it. Women like it and men don't like it, so it's good, and if you're a woman, you should like it. Did you know that women never liked the original Ghostbusters, only idiot man-children did? Because that was news to me too. Again, representation is important. I want more women-led comedies to come out. I want more women-led films to come out. I was really hoping for another Fury Road here because it felt so good to see a woman with power and agency in a film. I don't love The Hunger Games or Frozen. More than anything, I'm apathetic towards them. But I do feel like they're a step in the right direction. When I was 10, I wanted to be Ash Ketchum. There was no girl equivalent to Ash Ketchum. Misty was fine, but I had no interest in being her. Seeing little girls wanting to be Elsa or Katniss is pretty great, and it's something that wasn't afforded to me not that long ago. So if people get something out of this movie because it stars women and it has a positive impact that way, then that's wonderful. That makes me happy. But something that I never saw touched on in the feel-good tweets and think pieces is the fact that Paul Feig has said that studio interference prevented Kate McKinnon's character in Ghostbusters from being openly gay. In 2016, you could get gay married, but Sony was still freaked out by the prospect of a lesbian Ghostbuster. Yeah, we're breaking ground here and trampling all over convention and doing something new and cool and progressive, but if you want a lesbian actress to be able to play a lesbian character in a big movie, then you gotta slow down, I'm not gonna let a single person try to guilt me into liking or supporting a big release film that isn't allowed to have a dreaded gay in it under the guise of feminism. I really wish that any number of weirdo female directors, or just any number of genuinely alternative stories from people in marginalized groups got this amount of outpouring of love and press. I would love to see this level of passion for whatever modern equivalent of A Question of Silence or Jean Dielman or Meshes of the Afternoon lies in wait that might never get made because studios want to keep rebooting old ideas and cashing in on free press derived from controversy. Yes, the people hurling disgusting racist abuse at Leslie Jones and completely losing it over a Hollywood reboot, 'cause women, were significantly worse than people who were excited about it and pushing for it and sharing photos of happy girls dressed as Ghostbusters or of Kate McKinnon as a kid dressed as Scully for Halloween on social media. I am legitimately happy for those girls and for the apparent incremental change towards more diverse representation in media. The takeaway from this essay should not be both sides are just as bad, because they are not. And I am not here to play into misogynistic vitriol or argue against representation. I'm not necessarily saying that Feig and whoever were setting out to cynically manipulate audiences or politicize their film either. Whether the studio planned for that kind of reaction all along, I really don't know. I also never saw the movie, and I probably never will. I was exhausted from all the controversy when it came out. But that's not the fault of the movie itself, but rather of how toxic our culture is and how much stock we put into a person liking or not liking a thing as identity. It is definitely part of a wider cultural problem. Did you know that if you're a young woman who didn't support Hillary Clinton, you probably just hate your mom? Or it was because you wanted to have sex with Bernie bros? Did you know that there's a special place in hell just for you? To people like this, you don't like or dislike a candidate or film based on its own merits. You like or dislike it based on how well you're performing your gender or political affiliation as they see it. A more recent example is the new Wonder Woman film, where even screenings of the movie became huge, divisive news items, while, again, legitimately weird and subversive films made by women get no attention or funding. While probably not the case for Fury Road or Wonder Woman, I also don't doubt that there were people way further to the right who felt pressure to say they hated Lady Ghostbusters even if they liked it, because it became a feminist lightning rod and any discussion of it was inherently tainted by divisive rhetoric. It feels similar to how I'm not a big fan of feminist frequency, and I didn't think Gone Home was a particularly good game, but the amount of hate those two sincere, benign things have gotten because of where they are politically is legitimately frightening. And I feel like discussing them in a negative light summons the kind of people who give a woman death threats because she made some dry academic videos about women in video games. I wrote a version of this essay last year when I got riled up about Ghostbusters and needed an outlet, but ended up posting it to Medium instead of recording an essay because everything was too tense at the time and YouTube rage clicks aren't worth what comes with them for me. I just get grossed out when political rhetoric is used by consumers to shame people into or out of liking a film, especially in a way that reinforces gender binary, man versus woman garbage, alienates people, and is profitable for a studio who was hailed as being brave and feminist, but was too scared to let Paul Feig put an explicitly gay lady in a PG-13 comedy. Kate McKinnon realized that she was gay while watching The X-Files growing up.
I figured it out.
Right.
By watching The X-Files.
Oh, that's right.
And noticing my physiological reaction to it. I thought at first that my physiological reaction was a product of David Duchovny's face, but no, it was Gillian Anderson, who still is the queen.
Really? Of your
my
heart?
heart.
That's really powerful, and that kind of awakening and moment of self-realization and affirmation thanks to media, especially weird cult media, is common among marginalized people. The power of representation and affirmation in film is a beautiful thing, and it shouldn't be lessened or cheapened. So don't ever let the kind of movie where Paul Feig had to pull a Dumbledore because Sony was so scared of gay people cheapen it. And don't let that kind of movie be the best that you're willing to hope for. Hey, thank you for watching! If you enjoyed this, check out my other videos. If you have some spare money and you'd be interested in supporting me in making these videos, check out my Patreon. Thanks!